Thank you, Suzanne, and I'm grateful for the Howard Foundation. This talk tonight, I just want to make sure that I remind you that I'm not providing medical advice, but it is some really good education information that's coming down the pike from neuroscientists and medical doctors. I'm here with my movement educator hat on tonight, okay? And I'm not as a physical therapist assistant per se, but of course, you know, that information is going to be in my cellular makeup, right? I wanted to start by sharing a story with you, and this, I think it's life-changing information, really begs to be shared. So this is a thank you to all of you. Thank you for being here. Without you, right, this program wouldn't go on. So I wanted to just mention resilience at the beginning, is the courage to come back. And I really love this photo, that a flower will grow up, you know, in these crevices, these cracks where, you know, there's no water, and maybe it's even cement. And this is how we want to create our lives. So anyway, I want to tell you a story that happened about 3 weeks ago. I was out walking in the woods, which I do really regularly, my husband and I was just walking along, and I sensed all of a sudden, with my amazing proprioceptive systems, that the ground had disappeared from beneath my feet. I was flying. But the real kind of flying that a human body does, right? And what goes up must come down. And it did. And I landed about 5 feet from where I launched, you know, stubbing my toe on a root. And I'm telling you this story because it happened in the midst of planning this talk. And interestingly enough, my protectometer went off, and it took very good care of me. So here I am out in the woods. So my protectometer functioned beautifully. It assessed whether I had been there before. My protectometer had said how much did it hurt, all in an instant. It said send inflammatory chemicals to my wrist and my ribs to splint them immediately so they weren't damaged anymore. And my body sent lots of blood to do circulatory miracles. This is all happening at once, right? I had a rapid heart rate, and my wonderful brain opened its pharmacy to provide stress-induced analgesia, so pain relief, right, on the spot. And that slowed my breathing. My brain was still assessing the damage, and this orchestration was occurring like boom, you know, all at once. 400 to 500 bits of my brain, maybe 1,000 at one moment, figuring all that out and taking care of me. You know, this is the kind of brain that we have. You know, we're talking about the anatomical brain that does this for us, moment by moment by moment. So I want to ask tonight how many of you, by a show of hands, are experiencing any pain, or have today, or yesterday, or the day before. So I don't think that, yes, yeah. Even if the hands aren't going up, there's nodding, you know, so yes. So, you know, 1 in 3 people that you know, are having pain, are experiencing pain. And one of the problems is that it's been labeled, there I am. Even my hair fell out. So I saw this and I said, who's awesome? My protectometer. You'll learn more about your protectometer as we go along. So, but pain is a biological event, and that means that it can change. All right? So for that reason, we're learning that chronic pain is not such a good label. It's not really a good term. It gives us an idea that it's permanent. And, you know, there's nothing permanent, you know, as long as we're, you know, being biologically alive. So persistent is the word we want to start using. Changing the language, persistent pain. And remembering that it's biological, it can change. So, whether your pain story started with a fall or a bodily injury, back strain, a surgery. Surgeries are controlled injuries, yeah? They're wonderful, but they are controlled injuries. Well, your brain wants to help you heal and do better so you can enjoy your life. And again, here's your brain, who is awesome. You're awesome. So pain is a biological event. It can change. That's the good news. Now, does anybody know what that acronym, thank you, stands for? NSCLBP. Probably a number of you know what LBP is. Yes, low back pain. Non-specified chronic low back pain. Now, that type of a label says that your brain needs to learn how to move you better. This is what we're learning in the neuroscience. Most of the painful experiences people are having with their backs are, they defy tissue regeneration, right? They defy tissue healing. Beyond 12 weeks, if there's still pain, one of the things that it means is that the brain is caught up in that loop. It's caught up in a repeat the pain. Our brains are really good at repeating experiences over and over and over and over. And it amounts to something that's like body boredom. Yeah. But it is real, right? Back pain is any cause for pain, and any pain at all is real. I'm not saying that it's only in the brain. But the brain and the body are one functional, wonderful, living, adaptable system. So, I think we all know some of these statistics. 100 million Americans suffer from chronic pain. 100 million Americans. 5% of these cases are truly from an identifiable cause. And the remainder that cannot be clearly diagnosed is what we're calling now persisting or persistent pain. And it's more prevalent than cancer, diabetes, or heart disease. So I want to talk about 3 points. And we're going to zero in on 3 specific points about the pain system. So here we are. 1, what pain is, what neuroscience knows. 2 is how your recovery journey is self-propelled with support. And 3, how to change your pain perception via movement. It's one of the fabulous ways to change your pain perception. So the pain system affects your existence every moment, whether you're experiencing pain or not. And I'd like to just suggest this, that you kind of carry this with you, that pain is, it's not some horrible trick, that your body is playing on you. It's actually your system's way of getting your attention, and saying, please don't do that. You're going to hurt more. You're going to, I got to tell you, I got to get it through to you so that you don't, create more damage. And then there's the other side of the coin is when you don't do things that create more damage, then you get a reward. You feel better. Yeah? Yeah. So this is the pain system. It's always there to help you. It's always monitoring you and your environment, and what you see and what you hear and what you feel and what you sense, so it can help you do better. So, if I just really suggest that you hold that like, this is wonderful. I can use this system, to help myself. So pain experiences aren't as much held in the tissues as we used to think, as they are in the brain, as data. Remember data from Star Trek? Again, when you're experiencing pain, your brain is dealing with 400 to 500 perhaps even 1,000 bits of information at one time, like, right? It's doing that constantly, right? So your work, as we're talking about how to change your pain perception, is to help your brain make sense out of the nonsense. Pain it's like a soup in the brain. It's creating a lot of nonsense, and your brain is really good at making sense out of the nonsense. But you just have to know how to do it, right? And I know there are a number of you in this room who know, a number of ways to do that, which is really, really fantastic. So lastly, you create precision in your brain with a deeply thoughtful sensory experience. That's one of the ways to create precision in your brain and in your life. So, and remember, whenever I say your brain, your body, I mean your life, right? You and your totality. So the brain stores data, not the muscles. And I like this phrase, no brain, no pain. You remember the old one? No, what was it? No, I can't even remember it. Good. No pain, no gain. But no brain, no pain. You have to have a brain to move and to feel. Okay, so this means you can treat your pain with your brain. It's pretty exciting. I think this new science is just so exciting, and it begs to be offered and looked into. So your pain perception changes via your sensory system, and we're going to play around with that a little bit right now with a bit of, I'm going to use the phrase that David Butler, he's a physical therapist and an educator in Australia. He's just this fantastic proponent of learning about pain and how to use your brain to help you with your pain. And he uses the term homuncular refreshment. How many of you know what the how many of you know what the homunculus is? Raise your hand. Huh? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'm going to show you a slide of your homunculus. This is a picture of you. It's a little person that's in your brain, so to speak, homunculus. Yeah? And it depicts what parts of the body they take up the most real estate in your brain and in your perception of yourself. And all of us have a larger percentage of our brain interested in the hands, the mouth, the tongue. So homuncular refreshment, when David Butler coined that term, this is what he was referring to, this guy in your brain. There really isn't a guy or a girl in your brain. But you can have this image of this in your brain as you're doing some of this wonderful movement exploration tonight. So let's all, since you've been sitting for a little bit, let's all just sit in our chairs so that you're pretty upright with your feet on the floor. So what we want to do is help the brain to learn you again, right? To become more precise about where you are in space and where your body pieces are in space. And your brain is watching that every second of every moment, of every hour of every day, where every little part of you is in your environment, right? And this pain system and your perceptive system will take care of you because of that. So what we want to do is explore these types of movements with thinking and feeling and sensing. As I teach the Anat Banyal method, which is based on Feldenkrais. And this is what we're going to do a little bit of tonight, some of the movement awareness by Dr. Feldenkrais. So as you're sitting with your feet on the floor, just take a few moments to sense yourself sitting. And then place your right hand on your forehead. Yeah? And you may feel your hand is warm or it's cool, or you'll just feel like, oh, when was the last time I put my hand on my forehead? Just for the sake of it. But oftentimes we do that if we're in pain, but just for the sake of doing it. And then turn your head with the help of your hand to the right, and then come back to where you started. Do that a few times. Do that about 5 times. And I want you to think and just ask yourself, what made you stop at that point where you stopped? Not that you should go further. Watch out, it's interesting, the suggestion too. But why did you stop there? Just kind of ask your body, why did you stop there, right? If there's pain, please do a little bit less. If you feel pain, don't do so much. Rest your hand just a minute, and then bring your right hand onto your forehead again, and do exactly half of what you did before, to the right, turning your head to the right. And again, what made you stop? Was it my suggestion, or or perhaps you thought, well, maybe it would feel better if I did less. And with your right hand on your forehead, turn your head to the right again, and when you get to your end point, discover if what you thought made you stop actually did. So in other words, get curious about yourself. Well, get really curious about yourself. All right? Now, take a quick rest. Leave it alone. And every one of you will have a different idea, which is really cool. I mean, if I could put all of your thoughts up on that board, it'd just be all these different ideas about this movement. Now, put your right hand on your forehead again. Now, close your eyes. Imagine there's a bug on the wall in front of you. I hope nobody has a problem with that. You can make it whatever, but a bug would be the best. The bug is crawling on the wall, moving to the right, and imagine yourself following the crawling bug for as long as you want to. So the wall doesn't have to stop you, right? You can go beyond the wall and outside even, yeah? And come back, and make sure you only go as far as you're comfortable, to the right, and coming back. And notice how you both go to the right, and also how you come back. So maybe when you go to the right, it's, I don't know, there's some tightness or stiffness or something. And when you come back, your head just springs, or vice versa. Or you go just as easily, like I see some of you doing, to the right and back. Okay. And where in yourself do you feel responsive to this? Yeah? And stop and rest, bring your hand down. So you can explore and maybe find some other feelings that are there. So each time you turn your head is different than the last time. And the one previous will be different than the one that you do next. Every movement we make is its own individual experience. Every moment and every movement. So now, since I had you use only your right hand, turning to the right, take a moment and sense, is there a difference in your feeling sense of yourself between your right side and your left side? It could be, yeah. Some people will report, oh, the right side of my body feels larger. Your right foot might feel a little heavier on the floor. Your right buttock, the right side of your pelvis might feel heavier or flatter. It might be the opposite. So. Your breathing different. How is your breathing different? Your right lung might be more expansive. You might feel more ready to move to the right all of a sudden, if all of a sudden you had to move. Fantastic. You all did very well. And if you're feeling pain, you can always do a little bit less and go, oh, now it doesn't hurt. The thing is slowing down enough, training yourself enough to slow it down so that over time it only takes a second for your brain to shift and not go into that painful gutter. Science is also showing us that there are literally grooves in our brain. Literally grooves where we do the same things over and over and over and over. But it's also a good thing because, we want to have ease in things too, like get up in the morning and not have to remember how to get dressed and brush our teeth and, feed ourselves and all of that. So, this is good too. So, point 2. So your recovery journey is self-propelled with support. I love this one. This is so cute. Of course I talk to myself. Sometimes I need expert advice. Right. So here we are. How can I train my pain system to be less protective? That's what you just did. That 5 minutes, that is training your pain system to be less protective. There are a couple of essentials. Anat Daniel talks about the 9 essentials. The person that I learned the Feldenkrais method and theory from, the essentials. And 1 is slowing down, and 2 is movement with attention. And that's what you were experiencing just now. They're very neuroprotective. Slowing down, paying attention, doing less. And what are we typically taught to do? Go faster, do more, get on that treadmill and go, 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 go. But it's creating so much pain, It's, and it's not only physical, it's emotional and, mental and too. Because this is all one wonderful biological system. So you learn to understand pain and healthy body movement and then start moving. So point 2 is that once you learn some of this, you can start working with it. But I do recommend, of course, that that you've been cleared of anything serious, right? That 5 percentile, right? That's more than, long-standing chronic back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain. But and once you do that, then you want to learn how to help yourself. And there is a fantastic book that I recommend, or I suggest that when you see your medical provider, you say, could I start going over that with you? Or, could I have some other kind of therapy where they can start helping me learn about this, explaining pain. So it's called Explain Pain, the book that I'm talking about. Has anybody heard about it? By David Butler and Lorimer Mosley. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a suggestion I have for you. Yeah. So this is about educating. So if you can muster up the energy. I know when we're in pain, it's a trick to muster up the energy and the chutzpah to go and say, I need this help. But you really have to, for your own benefit and for your life. Your life could depend on it, right? And you want to find a support system that works for you, especially in the beginning. So I mentioned on the handout that true flexibility and strength apply to life, right? I mean, that makes sense, on some level, right? It just makes sense. Those things are how your brain sees you and how you develop this self-image while you move. So I like to call it your internal gym. Like everything you do, everywhere you go, every experience you have can help you do better. Isn't that pretty cool? I've had a lot of people tell me that it helps them sleep better, helps them with their relationships. I mean, it's not that far-fetched when you get down to it. When you help the brain to organize, become more efficient, a lot of other things in your life become more clear and you get more precise. So I always love this. Albert Einstein, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Yeah. Speaking up and saying what you need. Very important for reducing pain. So here, pain is not just in your tissues. We have these different tissues. This body contains these different tissues that, in the end, really, that's not where pain, lives. It's not, really doesn't live there. Your nerve receptors, right? The parts of your body that are connected to your brain and your spinal cord, the nerve receptors throughout your body, like the reason you can touch your arm and feel that sensation, you're scratching yourself or you're rubbing yourself or you're pinching yourself. Those sensory receptors are the ones that are telling you pain, pain, pain. They're, something touches your body, you touch something hot, that quickly relays to your brain. Your brain goes, oh, dangerous, and goes back to your muscles, and, whether it's a reflex or it's more of a voluntary muscular thing, you react, right? So it's not just the muscle, it's not the muscles particularly that do that. Yes, you see that action, pulling away from the stove, but your brain is really way ahead of that. It's like, way ahead of any response you could have. Again, that's good news because you can change your pain with your brain. And again, all pain is real, no matter what the cause. It's all real. It's very real. But it is not permanent. Okay? It's not permanent. It doesn't have to be permanent. And the brain benefits of exercise. It increases production of neurochemicals that promote brain cell repair, improves memory, lengthens attention span. It boosts your decision-making skills. It prompts growth of new nerve cells and blood vessels. It improves multitasking and planning. Now this says exercise, but beyond exercise is movement with attention, right? Exercise is great. We need exercise too, but we need movement with attention to really up the bar in your brain. Because remember, it is your brain that's taking care of you all of the time, making sure you don't get harmed. Okay, so let's take another look at a body image lesson. So again, as you're sitting there, close your eyes. Have your feet comfortably on the floor. And try not to actually touch your face with your fingers. It's okay if you do. It can be, quite a response, quick, but try not to. Use your feeling sense instead, right? That feeling sense, that is, what you feel by being touched, or just sitting there, right? As I'm talking, I'm also touching you with my words, and my intention, and so, yeah, that's part of your sensory perception as well. But without touching, feel the width of your forehead. Without touching, if you can, without your hand. Can you do it without your hand? I know. Isn't that wild? We really want to do that. There's a reason for that. You'll find out as we go along. If you can hold on. So, which is longer, the width of your forehead or the distance from the base of your nose to the bottom of your chin? I know it's so tempting to go, wait, with your fingers. We're so used to feeling with our fingers. But I'm asking you to start feeling with your somatosensory system, right? That part of your brain that knows where you are in space and knows you're safe. That's kind of to get your attention there. The verbiage, the wording. And which is longer, the distance from the left corner of your mouth to the whole of your left ear, or the width of your forehead from right hairline to left? If you mentally measure the distance, how would it compare to the distance from the corner of your right mouth to your right ear? Take your time. I'll repeat it again. If you need it repeated, just raise your hand and I'll know. So if you mentally measure this distance, how would it compare to the distance from the corner of your right mouth to your right ear and the width of your forehead? Take your time. You can feel like your eyes moving around, your mouth moving around, your tongue. Like when we were kids, we used our tongue to figure things out, and that's all really cool. Let it happen. Just let yourself, calibrate or, tabulate, however you want to. So feel the length of these lines, and by your own inner feeling, judge which of these is longer. Again, the distance from the left corner of your mouth to the hole of your left ear, or the width of your forehead from right hairline to left. And then how does that compare to the distance from the corner of your right mouth to your right ear and the width of your forehead? And, you know, you saw that little slide of the little guy talking to himself. You might find yourself chatting with yourself. Awesome. Do it. Don't hold back. Don't make, oh, I can't do that. They told me in school not to talk to myself and, you know, not to figure things out with my eyes. And yes, you need to use all of your sensory receptors to figure life out. Is the name of the game. Homuncular refreshment we're after here. Refreshing your brain, giving it a brand new place to step off from. Now mentally measure the distance from the corner of your mouth on the right to the hole of your right ear. And compare it to the distance you measured mentally from the left corner of your mouth to the hole of your left ear. And which one is longer? These new ways to think about ourselves, yeah. These kinds of lines and distances, and like Leonardo da Vinci. You are Leonardo da Vinci right now, you know? Creating these forms. So which distance now is longer from your chin to your neck to the hole you have at the top of your chest between your collarbones, or from the back of your head where it touches the floor to your 7th cervical vertebra? I'll repeat that. Which distance is longer from your chin down your neck to the hole you have at the top of your chest between your collarbones, or from the back of your head where it touches the floor, where it touches your 7th cervical vertebra? Sorry. That's another lesson. And so the 7th cervical vertebra is that large vertebra that protrudes way down at the base of your neck, just above your shoulder blades. A lot of people think there's something wrong because it's so big. But that's the base of your neck. That's the mantle for your head. You know, it's a big bone for a good reason. Okay, now, imagine a black ribbon. We're going to use imagery now. This is one of the ways to help the brain become more precise. Very, very powerful. Imagine a black ribbon around your neck. And you still have your eyes closed. This helps you to be more sensory receptive to yourself. Imagine a black ribbon around your neck at the narrowest part of your neck. Now mentally measure or feel the circumference of that ribbon and find another part of your body that has the same circumference. Yeah. Did you ever think about that before? Talk about new novel experiences, right? Getting out of the boredom, getting out of the rut, getting out of that gutter in the brain, so to speak. New novel, your brain goes, this is something I haven't explored before. Terrific. I'm changing the pain through the brain. Now put another ribbon around the thickest part of your neck. We did the narrowest before, right? So now the thickest part of your neck, and find where you have a place in your body with the same width as the base of your neck. You might not know, just it's enough to inquire. You know, it's enough to like put that little in the search engine and press enter, you know, and get back all this information. And there's all kinds of information flooding your body, you know, and your brain right now that your brain is making sense of. You don't have to do that. You don't have to try to figure all of that out, which is fantastic to know that, isn't it? Your brain takes care of that. Now place another ribbon at whatever place seems comparable to the base of your neck, so you have a similar ribbon surrounding that part. So you have all these wonderful ribbons, right, at all these different places in your body. You know, you're welcome to change the color. If you like a different color, green for Michael. You may even notice that when you choose a color, it is the color of a piece of your clothing, you know, or something else that you really like. How we associate. We have, you know, an associative memory that is also part of this protective system. So we're just experiencing a little bit, of some of these things, yeah? So let's do just a couple more. Does that sound good? Just a couple more imagination pieces with the body like this, yeah? And if you're having any pain and you need to get up and move around, please do. Very important that you don't make yourself sit if you need to get up and move around. Yeah, this is a movement education hour, yeah? So now imagine a straight line that goes directly through your nose, from between both eyes, through the middle of your mouth. Listen to where that line would go if you continued it through your body. Where does that line go? Along the front of your entire self. And notice any places in your body where you're tensing or tightening or compressing, or whether you're holding your breath and, oh, wait a minute. I want to train my body, I want to train myself, that I'm safe. Continue the imaginary line down toward your feet. Does the line fall closer to your right foot or your left foot? And you might be able to kind of compare that to, well, the last time I took a walk, it seemed like I was always on this side more, or I tipped over to that side more, or, last time you rode your bike, I push harder with this leg, that relates to that. So you start relating, what you're doing in your everyday life. Now, lastly, imagine yourself standing. Just imagine yourself standing. And draw a straight line from your nose down to your feet. And where would this line fall? And did that change when you imagined yourself standing from when you were sitting? And how did it change? How did your perception of that midline change? That imaginary midline. Slowly, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. If you're still exploring some things, please feel free to do that. Because we always, as movement educators, we don't want to impose things on you. We want to give you a piece of a process, and then you get to explore it, at your own time and your own leisure. And this is a really great thing, cool thing to do at night, lying in bed, and just, if you have any trouble sleeping, or you're having difficulties with pain, you can explore this. It really does help to calm the nervous system. So after doing that, you'll be able to notice small changes. After working with the imagery, as you just did, you'll be able to notice small changes. A lot of people say they feel more elegant and light. You may feel like you're sitting lighter in your chair, or you're sitting differently. You'll move more smartly, more efficiently, immediately. Then the trick is, it's not really a trick, it's a practice, is noticing the differences. And that's how you, quote unquote, keep it. People will ask me, how do I keep it? They'll do something like this, and my head feels so much lighter now. After kind of mapping, my head in relation to other parts of my body. And I say, if you notice the changes and amplify it, by noticing it, like as often as you can, right after, you will create neuronal networks, right? Where your brain cells come together to create that experience, right? Again. So whenever you remember this lesson, your brain cells will come into a pattern like this again. And this is why it's important to have experiences, right? How important are our experiences then, right? Because our brain is creating our world around these experiences. So when your brain weighs the world, and it does, every moment it weighs the world, and if it seems dangerous, it sends danger signals. This is the importance of learning about this, because knowledge is power. It really is. If we say that the best way to help people with trouble with their pain system is to give them information, education. Education is the cheapest, most available help, right? So there is one more homuncular refreshment item, And since you'll be standing, we'll tap in a little bit more to the endorphin production, yeah? The chemistry, part of that pharmacy in your brain. So please stand up. And I'm looking around saying people are getting sleepy, and I know we need time for questions too, but let's do that just before. And we call these lessons, so we don't call them exercises, but you can. I mean, you can call them exercises, but they're really brain-changing lessons. So as you're standing, just simply feel yourself standing and how you place your feet. There's no right or wrong, absolutely no right or wrong. And lift your right heel a little bit off the floor and then lower it. Just lift and lower a little bit. Now, you might be thinking, oh, I notice I shift my weight. Yeah, I notice I shift my weight. But how about the gap between your right elbow and the right pelvis? I love those chuckles. Like, who would have thought something changes between the gap of your right elbow and your pelvis when you lift your right heel? Maybe yes, maybe no. We're busy and we tend to move in these certain patterns all of the time. So this is really cool to start shaking up all those patterns, and get some new novel, get some fresh air in there, in your nervous system, and create precision. So now continue lifting your left heel and lowering it. Just the left heel now, right? So you did the right heel before, now you're doing the left heel. Just the left. And notice if there's a difference between the two sides. How you lift, not only how you lift your heel, but how you feel at the gap between your elbow and your pelvis on the left side right now. All right? And stop that. And simply bend your right ear a little bit toward your right shoulder. If you have any neck issues or spine issues, just really pay attention to yourself. This is more about paying attention. Less effort, but more attention. So that's what your brain requires to do better, to help you do better. So gently, gently, your right ear a little bit toward your right shoulder. Now, no, with your eyes open. Probably, yeah, when you're standing up, I'd like you to have your eyes open in the beginning. Thank you. Now hold your right ear with your right hand and bend your right ear toward your right shoulder. Does that feel different? Ask yourself, does that feel different than what I did before? Right? So you bring the hand to the face. Remember that homunculus, right? Hand, face, mouth. Big, big, big. Takes up a lot of room in your brain. Okay? Come back, and now do the same thing with your left hand to the left, holding your left ear, or just, kind of like, leaning onto your elbow, perhaps if you were sitting down at the computer or something like that. Yeah, so feel the quality of your bending. And what is it like to bend to the right? And what is it like to bend to the left for you? Now, are you shifting your weight at all when you go to the right and when you go to the left? And you can go side to side a few times and feel for yourself which way you shift your weight. Easier. So which foot takes more pressure? Check it out. So stop that and just rest for a second. Now you're going to bend your head to the right with your right hand, sliding down your right thigh. Yeah, so you take your right ear towards your right shoulder, right head, right ear towards your right shoulder, and slide your hand down your thigh. Right? And you wonder, why didn't I think of that before, right? I don't know, just, you want to get curious about your habitual patterns and bringing in the new. Now notice again the pressure on the bottom of your feet. How does the pressure change on your feet as you slide your arm down your leg? It's different than when you just tilted your head, perhaps. Now, if you can't feel the difference, it's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not flunking, blah, blah. It's a process of learning how to feel and differentiate. Yeah? And that's what keeps you safe. This biological. Movement is biological. Okay, now stop that and bend to the left and slide your left hand down your thigh. Notice how you're breathing. Does this feel easier? Do you feel more, quote unquote, balanced when you go this direction compared to the other direction? And again, only go as far as you're comfortable. Don't push into any pain. All right? And come back. And now, rest for a second in the middle. Lift your right shoulder in the direction of your right ear. Very gently, gently, gently. Do it slowly so you can feel when your shoulder goes down. Does it really go down? How many people are, up here all the time, right? So this is like such a, okay, I'm going to do this exercise or whatever. But how about the going down? How about the releasing, right? The releasing of the muscles, the releasing of the brain being occupied with those muscles. Very important. That's the refreshment. And most people are not getting that when they move. Everything's getting shorter, 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 and the body's feeling the tension and it's going, ouch. So you want to really release and feel that refreshment. And rest. Okay. Now, just observe your way of standing now. You just did that one side of bringing the shoulder up and down. You may feel like that shoulder's lower now. Yeah, that could be a result. It could feel higher. Yeah. The arm could feel longer. One arm could feel longer. Most likely, one arm feels longer than the other. Yeah, even one side of your face could feel different than the other. Even though you're doing something with your arm and your shoulder, your brain is very much interested in your face. All right. And go ahead and walk around. And go ahead and do the other side as you're walking, right? Pulling the left shoulder up and then releasing it down. Just for a minute and then come back because I think we're about finishing up. But as you're walking around, bringing that left shoulder up toward your ear and then bringing it slowly down. Yeah. Feeling what that does to your walking. We don't typically do that when we walk, right? We're either holding something or maybe we swing the arms. Now, what if you brought one shoulder up and down and then the other up and down as you walked? And you could stand in place if you want and walk. And isn't it interesting how we emphasize the up and not so much the down? Did you notice that when you were just doing this last imagery lesson, were you looking at other people too? So, you're funny. Well, here, this is really interesting, but imagining yourself moving or watching others move helps your brain to connect in new ways and get under the radar of your hyperprotective nervous system. So when David came in, he talked about that. He said, I think just being here is going to change my pain. I was like, he so gets it. He just so gets it, right? Being in the presence of someone who you just know. It's like, or, just, it's a back and forth. It's not that person. It's there's a resonance and that sort of thing too. But yeah, this is part of our nervous system, is to watch people move. Do you ever watch, I love to watch the Olympic skaters. And I feel different when it's over. I just feel really different, right? And I'm really aware of that. So I can see a lot of you get that too, yeah. So, yeah. So, thank you so much. You were all so participative and fun and, oh my gosh, a pleasure to be with. I just want to spend the rest of the evening with all of you. So do you have any questions? Love to answer questions at this time, and there's no wrong question. Great.
I just wanted a clarification. So when we're using kind of that method of putting a thread or a string around our different parts, that's called mapping?
It's,
And what is mapping?
Yeah. Body imaging.
Body imaging, that's body imaging.
Imagery. Yeah. It's a way to use your deep sensory perceptive qualities or powers to help your brain map where you are in space. So, and that's yours forever now. It's like you can come back to that whenever you choose to, okay, that's that. And if you think about anytime you do injure a person injures their body and it swells, that's a wonderful tool for helping to reduce the swelling. Because you're helping your brain open up its pharmacy by use of imagery, very.
Exploring it, basically exploring it.
Yeah, that's really, really wonderful. That is so wonderful.
What's happening?
Okay. I can answer that with my own story, if that sounds okay. Again, when I fell 3 weeks ago, that's exactly what I did when I landed. Because I knew that if I can go instead of being out of my body, staying in my body and going, hey, we're okay, protective system, take it easy, do what you need to do, but I'm okay. So what you were doing was getting under the radar of your protective nervous system and allowing it to do its job way better.
Because my mind was really right with what was happening.
Yeah, and there's so much about presence, right? And being present is so healing. It's so healing. Yeah, and that's beautiful. The other part of that I've been learning is that you are setting your brain chemistry. You're helping your sensory system and your nerve pathways to become more precise. And the more precise these systems, they can work better together, and do a quicker job of healing and relieving pain and for most part. Certainly, if you're injured enough, you need to go to the hospital or the doctor. You go to the hospital or the doctor. But I think too you can be intuitive when it comes to like persistent pain, and learn this process and settle it down. You could settle down the alarm system. It has to do with fight or flight, right? And the chemistry, the brain chemistry, right? The different drugs, so to speak, that get released. You're welcome, Linda.
I brought my grandson in to see you one time after he injured his back doing some real heavy lifting at Grocery Outlet when he was setting that up. And they'd already taken him into emergency and given him pain medicine, and it hardly seemed to affect it at all. We went in the next day, and he went in seeing you with all this pain, and he came out without it. What the heck happened? I mean...
Well, here again, I got under... He allowed it. He felt safe, and then I could get under the radar of his hyperprotective system, which should do that. Which should do that if a person's pain system says danger, 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 danger. But getting under that system with the gentle touch, it's a gentle touch, and it's an intention. I have an intention to talk to the brain, so to speak. I mean, we of course, that's the only way we can speak of it. These words don't really match what we're doing so much, but this is talking to his nervous system. Hey, you're safe. You're safe, and if you need to go to the doctor, you go to the doctor. But let's see if we can calm this down. We're really calming down the fight, flight, or freeze response, calming down the sympathetic nervous system, right? That does that part, that goes, we need to protect right now. It's a good thing. Again, it's a good system. But if it goes over and over and over, and it creates, it can create these loops over and over and over. Patterns. They're called neural tags or neural signatures. Does that answer?
I still say it's magic.
When you were falling, did you actually feel that time was slowing down so you could process?
Yes.
Because that is a phenomenon with like race car drivers in danger, and your brain actually slows down so you can process to protect yourself. And I've done that twice in my life.
Oh, wow.
So, your brain really does accommodate the danger and gives you the answers. And I was just wondering if that was what you felt when you were actually in it. It's a half a second, and yet you feel like it's a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sensory perception, is far and above time, Yeah. Does that make sense? It's like, yeah. That's when I think that those are the times we realize how big this is, how big all this is, It's so amazing, it's so amazing. When you take something like this body of knowledge and you say, okay, I'm going to do the best that I know how to do with it, and I'll get the support I need, and I'll just day to day, plot this. Actually, your nervous system just kind of takes it and goes woof, and then it knows. It just knows. That's its job, is to protect you. Your brain's job is to take care of you, not just to protect you, but to take care of you. And one of it is the protection system, fight, flight, or freeze. And it's in all animals, right? I mean, we're not animals, but it's in all. You see that in animals, right? Something's being chased by another animal, and then they stay that way until the danger's passed, and then they start to thaw and move around again. So it's a great system, but we can't live there. We don't want to. Well, we can, but we don't want to live there, because it creates a myriad of trauma and problems. Yeah, it is trauma,
I'm saying this, perhaps give hope to somebody else. I feel like a total failure. I've had chronic pain since I was 13, and I've had moments of, clarity and no pain and so on. However, I comfort myself by saying I would have been in horrible shape if I hadn't had wonderful healing helpers like several people in this room, myself obviously included. So it's kind of like it would be a lot worse if I hadn't done all these processes, at least to give myself some freedom from my overprotective system.
Yeah, wow.
I'm older than probably anybody in this room, so. So.
Not by much.
It is a feeling of, why can't I make this be, happen and stay with me, I get it for moments, but I don't have it, doesn't last for a long period. And there I feel a failure. Unless I think I might have been a crippled up old, something by 81 if I hadn't done all those things. So that's my testimony.
Failure.
Very success.
I understand the, the undercurrent of that. What you're saying. And I think that's another, word that we would want to transform, we're never failing if we're learning, and moving ahead, and you always have, as far as I've known you, as long as I've known you, you are amazing. I think most of the people in this room know, where you've been this last year, what you've been through. And look at her sitting here and doing all of these movements and, and yeah. She's a force to be reckoned with. But she's trying to,